Hi, everybody. Welcome to the YEP Coast to Couch series. I'm Stephanie Hajar, the Director of Educational Events for YEP Los Angeles, and your moderator tonight. And for tonight's panel, we're talking all about building a brand with these incredible panelists that you see here on your screen. Before we get started, I just want to thank our sponsors, Live Right Play, Starstruck, Morris Hyam, Regions, Publicity Nation, and Pinnacle. And before we get started, again, for those of you that are watching, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. And then towards the end of the panel, I'll ask the panelists a couple of the questions, and hopefully yours will be the one. So I introduced myself. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll get started with Bryce. If you could just tell us your name, your location, what you do, and where you work.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me. My name is Bryce Garcia. I am Vice President of Film and Television at Hello Sunshine in Los Angeles, California.
Thanks, Bryce. Go for it, Nina.
Hey guys, I'm Nina Sholnick. I am in Nashville, Tennessee, and I do digital marketing at CSM Management.
Cool. Ramona, you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Ramona Ekpe, and I am a publicist at Narrative PR in New York City.
Justin, it's all you.
Hey everybody, my name is Justin Tomlinson. I'm currently the Director of International Marketing at Atlantic Records, and I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, but we'll be in New York very soon.
Cool. Awesome. Now you guys have an instant friend.
Come on over.
Yeah, let's go.
I love it. Cool. So to start out, I just kind of want to get a feel for what you guys think when it comes to building a brand in your position. What exactly does that look like, building a brand in each of your positions?
Do we just want to go around?
Whoever, yeah, you can just, if you feel the need to say it quickly, go for it, and then we could just go around in a circle. So whoever wants to start.
I'll just start then. For me, it's mainly because I work with all established acts, a lot of which who were famous before I was even alive. So their brand was already established. And because of that, my job really is to keep their brand authentic through like any new mediums that come about. So in digital, that could be, TikTok, Clubhouse, Instagram, for some of them when I started. And that's kind of what it's been the whole time. And then through like partnerships and all that, just kind of keeping it consistent throughout.
Cool. Anyone else?
I can speak a little bit from me. Obviously in film and television, it's about making content that speaks to the company that you work for and the brand that you have. So like Marvel in my last job or Hello Sunshine here, both have completely different, obviously branding goals. But it's about finding the content and creating them that services like the audience and the fans best. And then you just sort of built your fan base from there.
I would say in my position, the brand is really a person. Our job is to share with audiences what our clients are like outside of their projects, outside of their characters. So building a brand is just finding ways to show that personality through the media.
Yeah, just echoing what everyone said. I think social media is key at this point in the game, especially with building your brand as a executive, but also as an artist. Just really bringing a lot of great things to the table for your clients and for your company. But I think social media and showing, people what you're able to do and execute is super important when building a brand.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And that actually brings me to another question, which is, you think it's possible to build a brand, or a strong brand, I should say, without social media in today's day and age? Anybody?
I think it's possible, but it's difficult. I think you have to be in the right time and place, or like your career has to catapult in ways that is not typical in order to be successful without social media. I think even now, because I work in personal publicity, and our job is to create press opportunities for our clients. And we're now seeing like there's a social component, there's social media components to like everything now. Whether you are doing a feature online, they want you to post it on social media, or there's some social media tie into everything in this moment. So you have to be a unicorn, I think. I mean, it is possible, but it's just not. Social media is definitely a tool.
Yeah. Oh, Nina, you're muted.
Sorry.
There you go. No, you're good.
When you talk about like building a brand from the start, because like I agree with Ramona, you know, if your brand is already established, to keep it going, do you need socials? That's, you know, really dependent on who your audience is. But I think when you're starting, it's super necessary, because how are you going to get an audience or like showcase those elements of your brand unless you have like a ton of money to pour into publicity every single day forever? You know, it's nearly impossible.
Fair enough. Bryce or Justin, do you have any input on that? If not, it's cool.
You know, it's a little bit different because I'm not working for specific, you know, artists or, you know, celebrities or really people in general. I'm working for a company. So there's a little bit more avenues for you to be established within your brand. You know, obviously the content is king in our business, but yeah, in terms of longevity, in terms of connecting with audiences and expanding it, you know, it's all about getting the biggest audience to, you know, be a fan of your brand. It's a key tool. I think you're only doing yourself a disservice by not being on it. Although I think the way that you navigate social media obviously changes depending on the brand.
Sure.
Engage that audience.
For sure. Justin?
Nailed
Okay.
it.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. So maybe Nina, you can answer this one, or anybody who's worked with established brands, I guess kind of all of you guys, but how long would you let an artist or a brand exist before you have them utilize those technologies like social media and whatever else is coming out anytime soon?
I mean, I personally would be someone to plan in advance. Like if I know that someone's launching their artist career, for example, or they're launching a business, I would put all of that branding element into the planning. And I would just launch it right off the bat, because the sooner you start it, the better, especially now, since we're past the social media boom. You know, you need to kind of take up your space as soon as you can. I think with that being said, you should be prepared. You shouldn't just like throw stuff up there and, you know, hope it works. You should have a plan of some sort, and like maybe some kind of content created already. That would be a huge help.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you, Nina. I know when working in digital marketing in my previous times, like I was very keen on when it came to like Instagram and artists like building their brand in time for a release, where we would archive all that content and just kind of tailor it to what we want this album to look like, whether it was video content, the album cover, single cover, whatever that looked like. But to your point, starting right away was super important, and making sure that that aligned with what we wanted everyone to see visually. But I also would love to add that even working with influencer marketing type of avenues and getting them to create your brand for you before, you know, you start launching something huge on your own channels, like making sure once that does launch or does explode or go viral, as people would say today, once that goes crazy, like having that content on your channel is super important, or having that vision or that brand aesthetic is super important to have on your profile. But leaning into influencer marketing is so key now with social media. So definitely, you know, lean into that as well.
Agreed. Following up with the social media aspect of things, I'm curious to know, how would you advise somebody differentiate their brand utilizing social media when social media is what everybody is using?
I think it's a bit, I mean, for me and what I do, it's not required. Like, we suggest it, and it's like, but we can't require our clients to post on their social media, and we don't tell them what to post. It's just some things are advised, or if we get the assets, will share it with them. So I guess that plays into them being their own person and choosing what they want to post, and that them being authentic in that manner is what helps them differentiate themselves from the next person. But I think it's hard nowadays because we are just so influenced by what we're scrolling through. And
Yeah.
I even think that people being true to themselves, it may be a warped version of yourself based off of the content that we are constantly consuming.
For sure.
Agreed. I mean, everything has basically been done already, right? So you just have to kind of know yourself as an artist or know your company as a brand and say, like, what are the things that make my artist or my company successful? And then we shift those into what I call content pillars. So it's like 4 or 5 like key things about a person or a brand or something that they're all about, that, you know, make up who they are and what they want to share with the world. And then you kind of just almost, you know, narrow that down and use that to create all of your stuff on socials. And you just have to hope it resonates with people because you're being authentic and being true to who you are. You know, like there's a trillion, you know, different things on social media. So making something original, like Ramona said, you know, that's almost off the table at this point. But if you're true to who you are, I think people really see that, and that's what they grasp onto, because there's a lot of, you know, fake things and not authentic things out there. So
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. So in your opinion, what makes a powerful, strong brand that lasts? So we see brands come and go all the time, but what makes one that's strong enough to last or stand the test of time?
Consistency. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. When you think of brands like Nike, and I'm a huge fan of them, you know, just do it. Once you, no matter the commercial that you see on TV, the social rollout that you see on socials, the influencer marketing plan that you may see, just do it. It's always the common denominator when it comes to whatever they're pushing, whether it's a new sneaker, whether it's a clothing line, whether it's an artist deal or whatever that may be. I think consistency, even for artists or even for a person that's in real estate, consistency in executing whatever you're delivering to your audience is going to be key. So that's always going to last no matter who you are, who your clients are. As long as they are consistent with their content, whatever they're delivering to their fans or to their consumers, I think that's going to always last a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else have any input on that?
That's extremely well said, and it's consistency, and for me, it's like, you know, it's also trust. It's knowing that, you know, when your fans see your logo, and, you know, let's, for example, at my previous job, Marvel, like the Marvel red block means something. When you see that on screen, when you see it on merchandise, it means so much, and it encompasses so many different stories and different heroes. But there's still a through line there that audiences know what they're getting into. There's a loyalty and a trust because of how consistent they are. And it's the same thing with where I am at Hello Sunshine now. You know what you're getting into, you know what you're buying into immediately. And I just think it's powerful.
How would you, maybe Bryce, you can speak to this, when you're coming into a brand or coming into a place like Hello Sunshine, or even Nina, you two, working with legacy brands, how does evolving that brand, or how has evolving an already established brand changed since you first started, or has it changed?
Well, you know, I can speak in terms of coming into Hello Sunshine is a company that has such a clear mission statement. You know, Hello Sunshine is Reese Witherspoon's company. It's all about changing the narrative for women. That in itself is a really powerful statement, and you build everything else around that. So evolving that brand is really just about, I guess, stretching what that bullseye kind of looks like and proving what, you know, the company can do, you know, after its first product coming out, after, you know, Little Fires Everywhere comes out, Big Little Lies. You know, it's taking those and stretching it a little bit more and saying, you know, there's so much more to be told for women's stories and women heroes and being the hero of their own journey. So it's always changing. For me, it just starts with the content and figuring out which content works best for the brand itself.
Yeah.
Also, Bryce, I'm a huge fan of all those shows, so love that. But
That's good stuff.
yeah, it's really good stuff. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I mean, for me, when you're taking an artist who's never had an Instagram account before or never enjoyed social media and, you know, introducing it to them or reintroducing it to them, I just basically did a ton of research, listened to everything that they've done, you know, listened to their interviews. What do they like? What do they not like? How do they act in the public eye? Like, what is their brand? Basically, you have to kind of figure that all out. And after, you know, talking to them and listening to all that music and kind of just enveloping in it, you take as much authenticity as you can when you're putting it into social. So, I mean, there's more avenues than there ever was. You know, every, you know, couple of years, there's a huge new social media platform. And so the real job now is just how do we continue to like keep that voice and keep it in a way that the artist likes it and the fans love it and, you know, all of that on those platforms. So, you know, Lenny Kravitz, Stevie Nicks, they love sharing their lives on Instagram in personal ways. And we have other artists that like to just stick to the music and just post about, you know, music anniversaries or, you know, keep it very like third person. And so you just kind of have to take that and run with it.
You basically just answered my next question that I was going to ask you, Nina, which is just about how are you ensuring or how can you ensure that a brand or an artist is evolving while staying true to their original brand and intent, which I think you kind of answered. But if you have anything else to add on top of that, go for it. I think
Ramona probably knows a lot. She probably has a lot to say on this too, because that's basically, I'm guessing, her whole job. But every time we partner with someone, release new music, like go on tour, any assets that are created, like any piece of information that the public is going to see, we double check it and make sure that it's in the voice of our artist. You just have to be really thorough and really careful and, you know, make sure that they're cool with everything that's happening, because you don't want, you know, it's like an octopus basically with, you know, a million different tentacles, and you just have to make sure that all kind of working on the same animal, you know?
Yeah, I like that.
And just go off of that, I would like to go back to the point I made earlier about how social media is a tool. And in the realm that I work, so it's not our main focus. Our main focus is making sure that everything that is public facing is what we want. Is how we want to represent our client. And I think in terms of maintaining the brand and evolving the brand, it is really about evolving and going along with what the media is like. I don't want to say media trends, but like how the media is operating. So for example, this COVID time, there wasn't really any in-person appearances. So now what does press look like? What does publicity look like in a virtual world? How are we going to still promote our clients' projects without them going to Kimmel or going to a red carpet premiere? Like, that's how you stay evolved, is just staying up to date with trends in terms of what's happening in the world and how the media is responding.
That's a really great point. So going off of that, Ramona and anybody else that wants to answer this, how do you balance latching onto trends and kind of staying true to, or maybe not staying true, but working with the tried and true standard practices that you know work? How do you balance the two?
I would say in personal PR, we definitely stick to more of a traditional realm, but social media has really changed a lot of things, and it's most importantly changed our definition of talent. Like now we have TikTok stars who are getting these sought after appearances on late night talk shows. We have campaigns that are exclusively on social media. You know, there's things that are that we have to keep up with in order to stay relevant. And ultimately our job is to make sure that our clients maintain their relevancy in whatever way that can be. But so I would say like that's a bit of the balancing act of like, okay, well, we know that TikTok is a big thing and it's a great marketing tool, but in the longevity of our client's career, is it going to be embarrassing if we have them do a TikTok dance just because we know it's going to get views? So It's like, I think the balancing act is, yes, you need to be paying attention to these trends and you need to be paying attention to what audiences and viewers and eyes are paying attention to, but we also have to think of how this potentially will play out in the future. Like we don't want any PR nightmares to pop up and our clients being embarrassed for doing something that we suggested or we approved.
For sure.
And so, yeah.
So Ramona, what would you say is maybe the key to helping your clients establish a brand through PR?
I think PR goes mostly, unless you're like super, super A-list, when people are just wanting to talk to you all year round. Most of our jobs pertains to promoting a project. Like we use whatever they're working on. And again, like I said, talent has now changed. And also the PR, like a lot of the PR firms were just representing like actors, actresses, and select filmmakers. But now like there's chefs, there's athletes, like there's a lot more that you could do in terms of talent. And in terms of like the media responding to these other forms of talent, like people are interested in different types of people. So I would say that I think I just lost my train of thought. Can you repeat the question?
You're good. I was just asking, what's the key to helping your clients establish a brand through PR?
Yeah, so the catalyst is the project or whatever it is that they're promoting. And our job is to use that as a talking point and use that as an excuse to talk to editors and as an excuse for people to read their articles. But then ultimately, we want to use our press and use our publicity campaign to help secure the next project, to secure whatever they want to do next. And so it kind of goes hand in hand, where our job is to get people talking about it, because then maybe a casting director or like a studio will get the buzz of this new cool actress or actor, whoever they are, and want to work with them. And so creating that cycle is what promotes longevity.
I gotcha. So it's not just PR for the sake of PR, it's PR to promote a specific project.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. And again, like there are, like if you're an A-list actor, like there's always an excuse to talk to you. But even sometimes we'll be like, pass, there's nothing for them to talk about at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Like why would we send our client into a situation where they don't have anything to say? But and it doesn't even need to be a project. It could be like, so we have some music clients, it could be a book, or it could just be like something, a charity that they want to shed light to. Like it'd be anything that they feel is necessary for them to lend their voices to. Mm-hmm. And our job is to help them expand their reach.
Got it. Justin, I have a question for you now. What or how does your approach or your strategy maybe differ now from the work that you've previously done in the past with gospel and country?
Oh man, my approach, it's super different. I think it just depends on the artist. Sure. But how I always approach it is I start with the artist first and figure out what are they willing to do for a campaign. A lot of times with the new day and age in digital marketing, it's so many things, so many tools, so much information, and some artists just can't retain all that information or retain all the ideas that come into play. So with gospel, it's a much slower format. So I'm not probably giving them too much information or giving them so many ideas, but really leaning into one specific platform. If that's YouTube, if that is TikTok, if it's Triller, if it's Facebook, which is really, really powerful for gospel. But in country, I was leaning into, I work with Nico Moon specifically, who just got a platinum record with Good Time. working with him, like we leaned in on TikTok from the beginning. Even though he wasn't a fan, like I kind of like encouraged that specifically for him, that it was this record specifically screams a TikTok like activation, right? But say all that to say, my approach is just different. Just depends on what the artist is willing to do, and then I kind of lean in and see, okay, if the artist is willing to do this, where's the audience mostly at? Depending on whatever that tool or whatever that platform is, right? So it just depends on whatever that client is willing to do. Because I can come with ideas all day, and I'm always looking for tangible ideas that's going to quote unquote move the needle. Whether it's consumption, whether it's awareness, whether it's helping Ramona get a PR look if I do something messy on Instagram, So trying to always find those ways to help other team members, get opportunities for the artist. But the approach is always just, hey, let's take our time. Let me get to know you. What are you willing to do? And then research what platform is engaging well for them. And then find those 1 or 2 platforms and just kind of message, like Nina said earlier, like having all that information and message out specifically on that platform to get everyone involved. But it was super different in gospel. It was much slower, but great, because it's still in the urban space. But country is super progressive now, working from Chris Young to now Nico Moon. It's super progressive, and Kane Brown, where they're like doing music with urban formats and pop formats and Latin formats. So that really allowed me to really open up my mind to just other thoughts, outside of what's traditional.
Yeah, for sure. So then do you latch onto the trends depending on the artist and then maybe stick to the more standard practices other times?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely always have that basic ready to go digital marketing plan for whatever artists. And yes, stick with the trends, see what's popping, as I would say, and then send it to specific artists. Like, I think you should do this. I think you should jump on or start this conversation. That's kind of my strategy towards that too. So yeah.
I got you. Bryce, moving on to you. My question for you is, how do you navigate or kind of walk the line having the secondary brand of, let's say, like Hello Sunshine and the artist brand, Reese Witherspoon? How do you walk that line, having them separate but still together at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to walk the line with Reese and Hello Sunshine in particular because they're inextricably linked. Reese, her brand is Hello Sunshine, and she created it in the image of her own brand and also making more space for complex female roles. So like, obviously there's opportunities where we're looking for, we have a role that's perfect for Reese, but it's so far beyond that where she's a producer in everything, and she's an excellent producer at that. So, there's really no clear difference between the two of them. And obviously it starts with servicing what the mission of Hello Sunshine is. That's my job. And then, Reese jumps in when, a role is perfect for her, but she's a producer from the beginning. So nothing gets greenlit at Hello Sunshine without Reese.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So then going off of that, because your brand is the company / her at the same time in some way, how do you make sure that the projects do reflect the brand? Is there like a specific criteria that you're looking for? You don't have to spill all the secrets, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's no rubric that we go and check all the boxes. Obviously, we're at the core of it. Like I said before, it's like about changing the narration for women and really telling these female forward stories. That's at the core of it. Where we go from there is completely open. Gotcha. What we can tell, and obviously we just, everyone at Hello Sunshine just loves stories. I mean, we have a book club, we have social media, we have a children's and animation division, we have unscripted, and really what we're trying to do is tell stories that really feel good at the end of the day, that people really want to dive into, that tell a conversation, and obviously stand out in such a crowded marketplace. Yeah. So we're all just fans of great stories, but it starts with obviously having a woman at the center of the story, and then we sort of take it from there.
I got you. It makes perfect sense. And I love all the projects that you guys put on. Like Nina said earlier, I just think they're great. They're great. So with that, when you're choosing the projects, how do you know what's good and what's great? Or do you know? Do you have to kind of just try it out and see how it ends up in the world? Or do you have like a sense of, okay, this is good, but this one is going to be great?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you find the answer, let me know. No, it's it's every person has their own taste. So for me, I'm always looking for what am I looking at? What am I reading that I haven't read before that really stands out? And it's what's relevant to today. What do audiences really want to dive into, and what are they looking for? So it could be any world of things. I have a taste coming from Marvel. Like I have a little bit more of a sci-fi genre taste to things. And I'm always looking for putting women at the center of those stories because I think they're wildly underrepresented there. So I'm always looking for great stories there. But there's no right answer. Sometimes you read something, you're like, this is the most brilliant thing I've read. I need to make this. And then there's times where I've said, I think we should pass on something. This is not specific for Hello Sunshine, but over at Marvel, I think we should pass, or this is not right for us. And I've been proven wrong, 100 times over that, the vision wasn't translated on the paper, but the artist or the writer behind it obviously had a clear vision that they executed perfectly.
Yeah, got it.
So no answer there. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It was your answer. That's all I was looking for. Ramona and Nina, this is a question for both of you. How do you separate the human from the brand, and how do you bring the two together?
I don't do a ton of separation because in my mind, it's all the same thing, especially when you're messaging out to the public. I think if you start to separate it, things start looking fake. And also in my mind, it kind of limits where you're going, because like I might see this person's brand, like their brand and then their person, and I might see their brand as like only a list of like, 20 things, but as a person, they could be growing and changing. And I'm leaving all of that behind if I don't acknowledge that. So I personally just like to keep it all in one. And honestly, like all of their personalities, the artists are all like almost my inspo for when I create anything, or when we're working on a post and, we're confirming captions or something, I would be like, no, that person would never say that. Like this needs to totally change, So yeah. I think it should always be grouped together.
Fair enough.
And to echo Nina, I was going to say that the human is the brand. Like our job is to translate who these people are as people, or how they want to be seen to the public. And like I say the human is the brand because like if you're in a Marvel movie, like you really get associated with the characters that you're playing, and that is great and all, and that's a great identifying factor. But again, our job is to connect who this person is outside of that character.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's a really good point. Justin, next one's for you. When you're working on multiple projects for the same artist, how do you make sure that the marketing that you're doing reflects the artist and the newest project without kind of like repeating what you've already done, but also staying true to the artist's vision and their brand as a whole?
That's a great question. It's tough to not redo or reciprocate, or what's the word I'm looking for? Just do the same thing again because it worked the first time. It's really tough. But I will say, I think I go back to looking at the trends and seeing what's popular now, whether it's a new technology like Community at one point. The texting platform was super cool, and everybody wanted to jump on it, right? So for me, I think my approach at it, or my thought to, is just like making sure we regurgitate what worked, because at the end of the day, like that we know is a formula that shows data that is going to work. But looking at other ways to say, okay, well, this artist that's also kind of mirroring what you do as a musician or as a brand or as an artist, that kind of in the same realm, they did this, but how can we piggyback and make it different? And for example, like I've done so many things where like I look at different campaigns for a Nike or a Marvel even, or even another artist, and I would go, "Ooh, that was cool. How can I make this work for a Marvin Sapp? How can I make this work for a Nico Moon? Like, even though it may not be the same exact campaign that person ran for their own, brand or client, I also look at that as that different aspect to elevate or bring different light to the artist's project. Making sure it's always in line and it makes sense. But I do that a lot sometimes just to kind of get my mind moving and going about ideation.
Yeah.
But I will say personally, for me, it is tough to not do what is going to work, especially in a place where in music, I'm just going to say out loud, like we're in a factory business where so much music is cranking out. It's really tough to really get creative if you don't have a big team, So, and I can ramble about that for days, but I'll say, no,
we have time.
I'll say, it's humbling, but it's an experience where you realize that, okay, like these ideas are great. What you've done is great before, but to your point in the question, ideating what else we can do outside of that is always the question that comes after release, after 2 weeks. Okay, we're number one. What else are we going to do to push the streams to stay at number one, and you're constantly having to think, while at the same time, I have other projects, or even just like your question specific to this project, I'm like, okay, I know we kind of did this with this platform, but like, let's do the same thing, but let's make it feel different on Instagram. And they'll be like, what do you mean? I'm like, don't worry. It's all about words. It's all about messaging. That's how it feels different. Certain fans hear it a certain way. But that's really my thought process in all of that when I'm doing my marketing campaigns. It's just really tailoring it to the audience. Every tool and every platform is different. Like my mom is going to be on Facebook, but she may not be on Instagram. So how am I going to communicate to my mom that a Marvin Sapp album is out? But then communicate to my little sister who's on Instagram that a Marvin Sapp album is out. 2 different strategies, same goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. And you briefly touched on not wanting to repeat, right? And I would imagine you wouldn't want to repeat what you've already done, but also you're seeing so many other people do different things to push their projects out. And this question could really be for anybody. How do you take in that inspiration without repeating what someone else is doing or repeating what you've already done?
First things first, probably just go back to my artist and say, what are you willing to do? Look, this worked for somebody that's just like you. So like, okay, I don't want to mimic this, but again, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just really like churning the wheels, having a great team of people who can brainstorm with you about what's going to work for that. Focus groups, I really do that a lot still. I know it's super old school, but I think from a country perspective, like really leaning into having artists ask fans questions of what do you want to see? What do you want me to do? Blah, blah, blah. Like that stuff really works. It may not be tailored to what they specifically say in the comment back to the artist, but it'll help brainstorm something for me to say, okay, well, again, Diddy did this with community, but how can we find another avenue, another texting platform and do a little bit differently for you as a country artist? You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. So what I'm hearing is it's all about the artist. It goes back to them every time. Yeah. So strategy can change or stay the same, but it's the artist that makes it.
And I'll add this, like the artists today, and I've been doing this for a while, but like the difference from even 5 years ago till now, artists 5-10 years ago didn't have to do so much work, like to promote a record, right? If they were on the road, that's probably like the biggest like draw that they did. Now you have to sell your record. Like fans want you, like we've been saying today, social media is so important. Fans want to feel you. They want to touch you. They want to know all about you. So I think the difference now is back to your point, Steph, about the artist is the changer or the thought of, okay, what can we do? It's like, okay, what are you willing to do? But also because back to the conversation of building a brand, because it's your brand, I don't want to separate how you talk or how you position to your fans to how I want to say it, right? So I got to make sure the artist is okay with it, even if I do it on my own. But I would love it better if the artist was involved, so it feels organic.
Totally.
Yeah. Earlier this week, I saw, or maybe it was last week, I saw Dua Lipa was doing an online scavenger hunt for her fans. And basically, you know, it's similar to other things that other people have done because you sign up for an email list to get clues. But then she's sending you all over the internet to, like, you know, get those answers and submit for prizes and stuff. And it's all branded with her, future nostalgia content, and it looks awesome. And, it's little inside jokes about Dua and stuff. And I think she took an old idea of the scavenger hunt right around Easter when, people are doing egg hunts. And she took the idea of collecting people's emails and said, you know what, we're going to take these two like old school things, turn them into something that's like my brand and make it rad. And, that's the way that you turn something into something that works, is by, taking a simple idea and just making it totally your own.
I
That
would
is
just
super
like
cool.
to go in from the publicity side of things and go back to the question about multiple projects for the same artist. Like, that's a dream for us because like there's only so many opportunities. There's only so many magazines that you could be featured in. There's only so many talk shows. So like if someone has 3 projects, somebody has to bite. Like we're gonna have to get an offer because there's just so much going on, and then you can just have them talk about it all at once. So like that is like I think the best case scenario. And then obviously there's like a timeline, but what gets tricky is if there's like a few months in between the 2 projects. It's like, how are we gonna do this so quickly all again? Because again, there's only so many magazines, there's only so many editors in the industry, and like they don't want to keep talking. Again, this is unless you're an A-list celebrity, they're gonna want to keep talking to you. But like I would say a majority of the clients are not on that level. They're still well known and like respected and doing their thing in their careers, but to have someone talk to you over and over can be a hard thing to ask for. So
Sure.
multiple projects at once, bring them our way.
I'll keep that in mind if I hear of anyone. I'll send them your way. Well, I just have a couple more questions for you guys, and then we'll take audience questions. The next one is, and anybody can answer this or all of you can answer this. Actually, I prefer that all of you answer this because I'm curious. What are some of the brands that you love? What are some of your favorite brands and why? And it could be music, TV, film, food, fashion, anything. What are some of your favorite brands and why? Oops.
I can start because mine's super easy. Mine would probably be like Disney. It's my favorite brand. There's a level of nostalgia there, but it's also it's a behemoth of a company and a brand that's far-reaching on the entire planet. And there's a level of consistency. It's one of the few brands that you look at, you know exactly what you're getting, and there's so many different sections of it. There's Pixar, there's Disney Animation. They all mean something different, but under one giant umbrella. And there's a through line there through several companies. I think that's just incredible. So I come in from like an admiration of the brand. I'm also a fan of the content. Obviously, I worked at Marvel, but that would have to be the brand that I'm always just constantly impressed at how they stand the test of time and pivot constantly.
Agreed. It's a great one, and they do really, really well throughout all the years. Awesome.
I am going to probably go the more artist and person route on this one. Although I will say, Justin, I know you said it earlier, but I'm a huge Nike fan as well. They literally can do no wrong in my book. I love everything they put out. Their clothes are awesome. Shoes are great. Big fan. But as far as like artists, I've always been a big fan of Fall Out Boy my whole life. And I think part of the reason why is because, there's a million other artists out there who have similar music, but their brand is so fun and like funky and cool. They do like, really weird things that almost spark creativity for me. And so I really appreciate that. And then also, she used to be a part of like the Bon Appetit chef crew, but I really appreciate Molly Boz and her brand. She is a chef, and she does these episodes on Instagram Live called You've Got Snacked with another former Bon Appetit person, and they just send each other ingredients and like make a fancy snack. And she has really cool graphics and posts a lot about her dog, and like that whole brand is cool to me.
I love it.
I'm going to go a quick little route. I'm going to do 2 different things. So Favorite brand right now is Cardi B from an artist perspective. Shorty is just dominating in terms of Bronx, New York. She is real. She's raw. She's ratchet. She has good music. She's just always authentically her. And I'm not ashamed to congratulate her for her success. So Cardi B from an artist perspective is someone that I admire in her team and what they're doing. And I'm going to add something totally left. Chick-fil-A. I moved to Nashville 4 or 5 years ago. I love this place so much. What they stand for from a faith perspective, because I'm a believer and I'm a Christian, but also their service is just phenomenal. Whether it's online, the app, in person, at the store, like everything Chick-fil-A is just dope. So, and the food is amazing. So those are the two brands that I would just sit here and say, like, they have me forever.
You all have such great choices. Ramona?
I will have to stick in the personal PR realm and also do a person. And when I think of like, who do I admire? I base it on like red carpet looks and photo shoots and like their overall editorial and public persona. And honestly, the first person that comes to mind would be Zendaya. I feel like she's always doing something creative on the carpet. It's always a beautiful photo shoot, and they're all different. And that's another thing that I look at is like, are the mood boards different? Are the concepts different? And is it still beautiful and feel elevated, but still true to herself or true to themselves? So that's the first person to come to my mind. But I also have been loving Dua Lipa, so I think like her red carpet looks have been like, she's creating a brand for herself. I'm kind of expecting, I know she's going to show up in something like probably short, tight, and sparkly, and I love it. Like, she looks so good at the Grammys. Her glam is always on point. Like, those are the things that I look at when I'm like deciding if I like it or not.
I have to add one more because I would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge someone talking on a branding panel. Chrissy Teigen. I think when you started talking about red carpet looks and like persons and stuff, it came to mind. But I was like, I admire her a lot because I feel like she does a great job of being real on social media. Whether or not that really is who she is, we'll never know because she does so well at it. And I don't know, I admire her a lot too.
Those are all really, really great choices. All really well-established brands that have a unique look, just everything about them is unique. And usually the ones that you mentioned, people love them or they just like don't have a preference, I guess. All of them that you mentioned, people love Disney, people love Fall Out Boy, love Dua Lipa, love Nike, love Chick-fil-A, Cardi B, Zendaya. Like, yeah, you guys nailed it. That was awesome. Okay, so let's go to our audience questions. And here we go. Maddie asked, what do you think is next in the world of branding, i.e. apps like Clubhouse or products like NFTs? And do any of those really stick out to you? Or are there any that we're not talking about yet?
I think Twitch is doing a really good job of helping people establish brands. Maddie knows. I know Maddie asked that question. I have been studying NFTs and I don't think I could speak on it yet because I don't even know how much anybody truly knows about them. But I think things like Clubhouse and like social platforms like that, Twitter's already made their version of it. And I think that there's going to be other, things like it. But Twitch is targeting a market of people. It started with video game lovers, and I think that's such a niche group, and they have turned it into like a whole thing that's even bigger than that. And I think that's why it's so successful.
Shout out to Twitch. We're streaming on Twitch right now.
Even though that's pretty cool. All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everything is just going to go digital. Like, there's not going to be any print in the, I think, near future. I'm not really sure about how those apps are going to look. I feel like social media has sped up our access to information, and it just keeps getting faster and faster. So I'm quite curious if the pendulum is going to swing in the other way in terms of social media. But I do think that like everything is going to transition to a digital space, whether or not it's on social media apps or just online.
I agree, Ramona. I would love to add to Nina's point about just gaming and Twitch and stuff. Virtual reality and augmented reality, I really think it's the nerdy side of me of understanding this digital space. It's definitely up and coming. It's been talked about for a few years now. And now look, we're in a pandemic and everybody's all over these virtual concerts and everything. But the like Oculus, like goggle headphones and stuff like that. Like I think people are really going to start investing into that. Artists are going to do more virtual reality type concerts. They're going to do the kind of not animation as well, but like the avatar type of lifestyle, like really bringing that back to life. I.e. the NFTs that everybody's talking about. You can build your own avatar and all this stuff. It's crazy. I'm still learning about that stuff too, Nina. It's a lot right now. But like I think virtual reality and augmented reality is something that everybody should start really leaning into, those different companies that provide that service, and seeing how you can adapt and really lean into what they're able to offer your fans.
Yeah, virtual reality stuff is wild. Bryce, this is not part of her question, but kind of, do you see virtual reality and augmented reality stuff becoming more popular in the film and TV world? Do you think that'll become a thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's another form of storytelling altogether, and it's all about what serves the story the best.
Yeah.
Netflix has experimented it with their Black Mirror content and sort of choosing your own adventure and basically giving the audience a bit more of a driver's seat in the narration, which is always great. I'm a fan of video games. I did have to Google NFTs when that came up, so it's still kind of confused. So I'm not going to talk about it. But
that's a conversation for another time.
Exactly, but at the end of the day, it's about telling the best story possible and using the tools at your disposal to do that. And I think augmented reality, anything that really gives audiences a bit more of an interaction, grabs their attention, it's ripe for the taking. So I think it's only going to get bigger over time.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. Next question. Josh asks, what are your opinions on the ideology of any publicity is good publicity in relation to an artist or company's brand, and how does that apply, if at all? Anyone?
Well, I think it depends on the client, the person, the brand, because sometimes less is more. Honestly, you can make a big impact if you place it in the right media outlets, in my case, and also like it depends on if you can control the art as well. For us, that's a big thing. Like I mentioned, photo shoots. If it's going to be a situation where the mood board is like kind of crazy and they're not, you can't use your own glam artist, or like we don't have much say in it, then it's better to scrap it and not have bad images or a bad interview or a bad feature out there if we can help it.
Definitely.
If something gets out to the press that, we didn't know was coming, or we just, heard about last minute, something we didn't have any control over, and it's not necessarily good, we just keep doing what we're doing, because in the end, it's just more people who are going to look you up and like go to your page. And if they see on your page something that's totally different from the narrative that you're hearing, obviously if like someone commits a crime or like, does something totally terrible, like obviously that's like a whole other thing. But if this is just, like some TMZ, whatever, that it's just leading more people to your page, you just have to be able to take that part and run with it from there, or else then you're screwed. It's bad press for sure.
I'm curious to ask Ramona, or even anyone in the room, like when working with a new artist who has had no track record, of course, of like late night TV, morning TV, all that stuff, right? Or any press, even print. like to this question, would any publicity help you book the talent? You know what I'm saying? On a show or on a print type of avenue.
It's still I would say if we can control it, because
Okay.
if you're just like doing, I mean, obviously we would like more opportunities in order to get these other features. Like you need something to kind of show them to, move to the next space, but you also just don't want it to be bad. It doesn't help you at all. If the only thing that comes up on Google is this nasty interview that you did, well, nasty is not the best term, but like just something that is not appealing, then it just doesn't do anything to move the needle.
Fair enough. All right. I think we might have time for just one quick question. Caroline asked, do you have any challenges keeping a brand consistent but still fresh and exciting?
I can speak on that, working with a lot of acts that have been around for a while. I think that's the whole name of the game, is keeping it exciting. And a lot of times people say think outside the box, like whatever is possible, anything's possible. But for me, I make the box and then I look outside of it and I say, okay, what's out there that I can do in here? You know what I mean? It's almost like giving yourself a little of, it's the brand consistency box, and then saying, okay, I'm trying to think of an example. Def Leppard did a TikTok recently, Phil, the guitarist, where he was working out while singing because Miley was running on the treadmill singing, preparing for her Super Bowl performance. And Miley Cyrus is a huge Def Leppard fan. So we were like, oh, this is a great opportunity. Phil loves to work out. His audience knows that. Like, how can we, keep something fresh and new in here? And he did that. And that's just like, you have to just kind of pick up on those little things in between. And I think sprinkle in like the classic stuff along the way that people love, and you'll be fine.
That's awesome. Anybody else? Are we good? Cool. All right. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to speak with us and share your expertise. We seriously appreciate it. Thank all of you for watching, and another big thank you to our sponsors for helping make this possible. Go ahead and join the YEP group, the community groups in LA or in Nashville, to stay up to date on our next panel and events. Go to Instagram at YEP Los Angeles or at YEP Nashville. Thank you all so much again. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.